I am all for free speech. I am all for everybody sharing their opinions. But not once, not twice, not 3 times. And I kind of feel sorry for Piers Morgan, but then I don't. Okay? Because, hey, listen, it's his show. He can have whoever he wants on. But Candace Owens, and this came out 2 days ago. This flew under my radar, but I had to catch it. Candace Owens tells Piers Morgan, I almost called him Peter, Piers Morgan, why she won't publicly condemn Kanye, why Harvey Weinstein was wrongly convicted. It was a kangaroo court. All right. And then also defends Andrew Tate. Which one's worse? You're going to bat for all 3? Hey, listen, everyone's entitled to an opinion. All of you, my audience, are entitled to an opinion. Piers Morgan can run his show however he wants. I kind of feel sorry for him just a tiny little bit. Just a tiny little bit. And then I'm like, what the hell? No, look, you don't have to believe. Now, I'm going to have to pause at one point in this video. I just want to make sure where it's at precisely. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. I got to keep an eye on this first one. All right. So first, her defense of Kanye. All right. You'll see why I have to pause it.
My view has been pretty consistent in that when you have a real relationship with someone, you shouldn't be lashing them in the public for anything. There's something about the entire world having commentary about Kanye when he tweets, and that exact same part of the world telling us that we have to remain mum when Bibi Netanyahu literally goes DEFCON 3, but Kanye tweets something about DEFCON 3. That just makes me uncomfortable and feels really disingenuous. And like I said, when you have an actual relationship with someone, if you have anything to say to them, you should say that to that person directly. And so I'm just not going to partake in this sort of like Judas culture of stabbing people in the front when you have a real relationship with them. And I've maintained that consistently, and I'm not going to break that code today.
I mean,
okay, we're going to pause here because I don't want YouTube to get funny ideas. Now, Piers Morgan, he's got a larger channel, so I'm pretty sure he's got a team and access to the higher ups at Google and YouTube. Fine. I don't have that. But I will describe the image that Piers Morgan does show that Kanye would tweet out. All right. Now, something's wrong with Kanye. Okay. Then that Hollywood culture and that music culture, it messes with your brain. Okay, it does. It does. I mean, we've seen a lot of people just go crazy. Don't mind if I do. Blah, 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 blah. But nonetheless, the image is of a white hooded outfit with a Buddhist symbol gone in reverse. Now, I don't think I have to break it down any more simpler, but think about it for a second. Be like, oh, Kanye tweeted that out. And there's a lot of things that Kanye has said. A lot of things that he has posted on social media. I would not have that man as an advocate. Let's continue on.
Extremely uncomfortable, extremely threatened by this because he's got 32 million people following him on X alone. You know, his social media firepower to galvanize hate against the Jewish people is being laid bare, isn't it, in real time?
And Torwin, yes, you're absolutely right. Look, Andrew Tate talking about the crisis in Gaza, the horrific nightmare in Gaza. I agree. But he's the last person you want as an advocate. You know, he's part of that group, and not to mention everything that's surrounding him. There's one guy I don't want at my side.
Just a question for you. When you saw the Klansman hoodie, why did you say taunting against Jewish people but didn't mention anything about black people? Yeah, but it's just interesting that of the two things you chose to lean into Jewish people and not to speak about what the Klansman hood represents.
Well, both. Let's say both. I mean, they're both, the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan were both despicable people who targeted certain members of society and wanted to cause them enormous harm, if not kill them. And that's why people are finding what he's doing.
That, like, when I saw the image, I thought you were going to say something about Black America and maybe speak about the fact that Kanye is Black, but you just instantly went to accusing or speaking about how Jewish people felt about it. I think that's interesting. I just find that response to be interesting.
He's literally selling swastikas.
Yeah, Piers,
have a
if you
look.
would like to provide commentary on.
Nope. Hold on. Sorry about that. Had to take that down there for a second. But nonetheless, hold on.
Under the bus publicly. It's not the person that I am spiritually, and I'm just not going to partake in it. And I've not moved on that 1 inch. And in fact, as time goes by, I feel stronger and stronger that I should not participate in that culture, because there seems to be something sadistic about the entire world condemning someone and then an individual saying, well, I need you to do it, Candace, because you have a personal relationship with him. It's strange.
Actually, you know what? We are going to move. We're going to move on. And I wasn't even aware you didn't want to talk about it.
Any person in the entire world that will come onto your platform and say something about yay.
Now, I'm going to say this. She is making a very interesting argument about Kanye, and does she have a relationship with him? Yes. Do I think Kanye got in too deep with the Hollywood circles and saw things and maybe he didn't want to see? Let's be clear here, folks. Hollywood is a cesspool, and there is a gigantic abyss, a nightmare that is there. Okay. And there's always control and power, and the lives that Hollywood has destroyed, the dreams that it has crushed, and what it's done to people who have made it is a story of which I think very few of us can stomach, and what it takes to make it big in Hollywood. It's a machine that's going to chew you up and crap you out. And once it craps you out, you're going to do everything you can, at least if you make it big, to once again to be chewed up by the machine, because it's an addiction. It's a rush. You know, most of these actors and musicians, what they don't tell you is they're flaunting it. They're showing you that they're doing well, but they're not. But for Kanye, though, I get it. First Amendment. He's entitled to it. He is. The way he's trying to do the message, and some people who he's associated with, does nobody any favors whatsoever. Especially when we look at the whole idea of one Harvey Weinstein. Because yes, we continue on here. It's kangaroo court. Now, there's a lot of women that have come forward. This was the height of the Me Too. And you can't look me in the eye and tell me that there aren't any other Harvey Weinsteins currently right now in Hollywood or in any kind of major entertainment industry.
Harvey Weinstein, who somebody else I knew for a long time, disgraced, shamed, imprisoned, and so on. You've launched a big public defense of him. Why?
It was actually, I got in touch with him kind of quite accidentally. There was a mutual party who felt that I was the only person, despite me and him having very varying views, very strongly varying views. He's on the left, obviously I'm on the right, that I was the only.
Harvey Weinstein's on the left? Say what? Excuse me?
Person that would look at his case fairly, because I have been a vocal critic of the Me Too movement. And to be completely honest, before he and I got on the phone, I believed he was guilty because, well, he was found guilty. And also because the media had even done a number on me in terms of there were just so many allegations. It was difficult to sift through or to not reasonably assume that something had to be true. And so I took a look at the case and was positively shocked at what I discovered. I believe Harvey Weinstein was wrongly convicted. And the reason that he is sitting in prison is because of the media. It was a trial by media and not a trial based on the facts. Now, I want to be very clear here. This does not mean that I think Harvey Weinstein is an upstanding citizen or a moral person. He was completely immoral. That's why he found himself in this circumstance. He was cheating on his wife and by my regard, therefore, cheating on his children. But that's not you don't put somebody away for rape because you think that they're immoral or that they abuse their power. Hollywood has operated the same way for a very long time. It is a world in which people will prostitute themselves. Women will prostitute themselves for parts, for a chance at becoming famous. And it is rightfully, New York just overturned the decision and is sending it back down to the lower courts because they had the appellate judges, acknowledge the fact that it was essentially a kangaroo court.
Now, hold on. There's been a treasure trove of many people, women coming forward, people speaking out. You know, I just want to just mention something here real quick, okay? And I won't be able to play it because it's just, I can't. But Seth MacFarlane, I believe maybe during one of these, hi, cat fancy award show ceremonies made a passing joke about Harvey Weinstein and how, oh, if you're a lady, you got to pay your dues to Harvey. Everybody knew. I mean, come on, folks. A lot of people knew. Even before Me Too and Time's Up, Hillary Clinton was getting money from Harvey Weinstein for her campaign. Remember the 2016 election cycle? And while it might have disappeared and flew under the radar, but there were some people telling her, hey, maybe you shouldn't be seen with this guy because he's done, there's some stuff coming out that he's been doing these bad things to women. Okay, now I have my criticisms of Me Too and Time's Up, but we know Hollywood, people. We know the stories. I mean, they're there. They exist. The nightmares are there. Of all the people who've made it, there are graveyards of people who haven't. And I don't mean that they're dead, but maybe their souls have been crushed because of going through the Hollywood entertainment machine. And yes, I've spoken to people who are, at least at some levels in Hollywood or, do some of the stuff behind the scenes, working with cameras or makeup or anything of that nature. And yes, it is a devastating machine. Who doesn't dream of making it big? But if you want to make it big, you got to pay your dues. And sometimes people like Harvey Weinstein are there to collect. And you don't want to be collecting to him or giving tribute to him.
They were convicting him on character and not based on any of the facts.
Over 90 other women came forward to say or to make allegations of sexually criminal behavior against him. Does that not give you pause for thought, the sheer volume of people all with similar stories?
That is exactly why I believed it, because there were so many women. And then I hadn't even, and I'm sure you didn't realize.
I am very well aware of Candace Owens' work, and I do find it, I'm impressed, especially when she was on Ben Shapiro's show, how vocal she was against the war that was happening in Gaza, still is happening. Okay. And I can agree with somebody, but I also can have disagreements too. And look, I'm all for somebody's right for free speech. I'm all for somebody's opinion, but I also have my own opinion. And there's three people that I'm not going to go to bat for. All right, especially the people that she's mentioned, the Tates, Harvey Weinstein, and Kanye. Okay, each have their own problems. Each are a nightmare to deal with, and while each might have their own followings and supporters, I have to say, I don't want to be anywhere near that. And it's just something that's very uncomfortable, especially when you look at how Andrew Tate's previous work in regards to how he made it big, how he got his money, makes me sick to my stomach. There's Harvey Weinstein and his reign of power in Hollywood. And then there's Kanye, which for him, I feel sorry for the most because maybe it's the Hollywood machine that broke a person and Hollywood can do that. So for him, I have a little bit of pity for because, what does the machine do to somebody? What happens when you're perpetually stuck in the Hollywood entertainment business?
Who actually put him away? How many of those women put him away? And the answer is 3. So it went from 90 accusations, which the media kept hammering into our minds, and it came down to the testimony of 3 women who had consensual.
Well, again, everyone has a right for free speech. I have my opinion too. Okay. She has a right to say this. It's just, I don't know if I'd want to go on the record for that. Okay. That's just me. That is just me. But this is news nonetheless, because we have to break it down.
Sex with him after their alleged rapes, according to their very own testimonies. The 2 women in New York in particular had consensual relations with him thereafter. And when you see the email sent to him, the text messages sent to him, asking for parts, asking for, tickets here, tickets there. One woman in particular brought her mom to meet him. It just, your brain kind of comes undone and you recognize, wow, what happened here was wrong. And like I said, it doesn't condone his behavior. It doesn't condone recognizing your power in Hollywood and recognizing that women will sleep with you simply because they think that you're a conduit to their success. But wrong is wrong. And Harvey and I don't have to agree on politics or agree on moral character or agree on theology in order for me to say that he was wrongfully, in my belief, wrongfully convicted and should be freed.
And then finally, of course, the most difficult one of them all, the Tates. Now, somebody could be right. I said this before. I said this before about politicians that I don't like, okay, or politicians that I'm critical of. Let's say, I've had said on this show before that AOC said something good, Donald Trump said something good, or Tulsi Gabbard said something good, or Representative Thomas Massey, or even that nutless wonder occasionally, Bernie Sanders, right? That doesn't mean that we need to go head over heels and go to bat for them. No. All right. I won't go to bat for any politician. A broken clock can be right twice a day. Absolutely. But remember, they're only right twice a day. Andrew Tate and his commentary, especially, and yes, he was even on Piers Morgan's show talking about the war in Gaza. He's not the advocate I would want. Same thing for Hassan Piker. No, I don't want that man talking about, or he's at leading any kind of organization or movement to help out the people of Palestine, because I think that's going to cause more problems than good. But also, on the internet, you have many circles. And of course, there's the red pill community. And I get it. In this day and age, people are lonely. In this day and age, people are very defensive. And social media, a lot of us are susceptible to being propagandized. And we have to remember, we have to keep our heads on a swivel. And remember, you can agree with somebody, but you also have to be critical of that person too, which is why I tell everybody in my audience, when I do this show, I encourage all of you to do your own research as well. Check out Candace Owens' work, or either that if you want to stomach it, if you want to listen to Andrew Tate stuff, fine, that's on you. But it's important for you to be critical and look at every single aspect, which is why I'm proud of this audience. I have a very diverse audience, and you guys have been critical of me, and that's what I like. But Andrew Tate, going to bat for him, okay? The man has a lot of skeletons in his closet, and it's important to be critical of him. So let's go ahead and play this video here.
I hate everything about this Andrew Tate character. I hate what he represents. I hate the culture that he's bringing, but he's an American citizen and he's going to be treated as such. Instead, they said, we'll find something. And then they began the fishing expedition, which I just stand against, whether it's Trump, whether it's Tate, whether it was you, Piers Morgan. If it was you, Piers Morgan, my platform would be used to say this is wrong. This is not the way. We shouldn't be running America like a Soviet regime. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. He should do something, and then we should look at the evidence, as Pam Bondi said in her hearing for confirmation. That's the way the judicial system is supposed to run. We are aware of a crime and we are investigating that crime, and that crime has led us to this person.
You've got 3 sons. I've got 3 sons. When I interviewed Tate and see other interviews with him, there's a lot I would agree with about how young men, that's why they gravitate to him, right? About taking care of yourself, working out, clean living, all that kind of stuff. That's all fine. And the sort of empowering language he uses, that's all fine. The big problem I have with him, putting aside all the allegations, which I just don't know the truth of them. Honestly, I just don't know. But putting all that aside, the sort of brazen misogyny that he comes out with, I don't like that aspect at all. As a mum of 3 sons who has, strong personal principles, what do you feel about that side of it? If they started when they're older watching Andrew Tate and he's saying women should stay at home and they should do this and do that, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not offended by the idea that women should stay home. I think that's great. My grandmother stayed home when I told you I'm not a modern feminist, so that doesn't offend me. But to your other points, I know what you're referring to. And what I've always maintained is that Andrew Tate and his brother were actually a response to a misandrist culture, women that hated men. Before Andrew Tate, there was Lena Dunham. There was Lena Dunham saying terrible things about the patriarch.
If your example is Lena Dunham, my God, no. You flick her off your shoulder like that. Okay? Has Lena Dunham done anything earth-shatteringly great? No. My God. Anyone that's believing anything that she says, get over yourself. If that's your best example, I don't think so. Now, I get it. There's women that hate men. There's men that hate women. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, get over yourselves, okay? Just because somebody left you on red or didn't respond to your Tinder message, you don't have to hate the entire gender. You got to moveon.org. That's the problem with the internet. People have really let their emotions get the better of them. Now, of course, yes, in this day and age in the internet where everyone's lonely, People are going to feel like, oh, well, what's wrong with me? It's fine. That's life in general. You know, and a little bit of a side note, what all my elder relatives once told me, you're born alone in this world and you will die alone in this world. Make do with life as best as you can, but I just can't go around blaming somebody else. And yes, I'm well aware of the red pill community and how there's many different communities, men and women, saying you got to be careful of this and this is how you need to run things. Life isn't a machine. Life isn't perfect. Life is chaos. You're going to be running into that a lot. That's what happens. Okay. And I ain't no Dr. Phil, but not everyone's the same. And just because one person had a bad experience doesn't mean that means for everything. All right. The internet isn't real life.
About men ain't this. There were Beyonce albums. They were Taylor Swift albums. And people want to pretend that that's not relevant. Men were getting beat over the head over and over again for just being men, being told your tail needs to be between your legs at all times. There's just something wrong with masculinity. There were all of these fruity terms, toxic masculinity. And finally,
and if you let that get the better of you, you're not a critical thinker. I've been called toxic. Okay? Me. Okay? I've been called sexist and misogynist. I've been called racist. I've been called bigoted. I've been called all this stuff because I said, oh, I'm not going to vote for Trump. And somehow I was a misogynist, even though I was voting for Jill Stein in 2016. That was the first time I was called that. I was like, well, how? I respect my mom. I love my mom. So there you go. You know, and see, the thing is, it's when terms are being used like this, that's when you know you're dealing with somebody that's terminally online. You know, even I get out of the house, okay? I can't be attached to this computer 24/7, but there is an illness. And of course, people like Andrew Tate do rise up and are able to have a platform, build a following, and then people give him money to how to be an alpha male. You don't pay somebody to make yourself an alpha male. You make yourself an alpha male through trial and error, through determination and grit. To make yourself an alpha female, same way too. And it takes a community to create real leaders. That's just my opinion. And I'm pretty sure I offended somebody. I probably did.
Finally, you get some guys that stand up and they say, you know what? No, the girls suck. The girls are actually this. The women are not anything. And suddenly the culture goes, I don't know where this is coming from. Well, it came from toxic femininity, actually, is what bred that.
Interesting. No. I'm liking the engagement from my community. Marco Rodriguez, Kit, in some ways you're calling Candace toxic. I would not say that she's toxic. All right. If it comes off that way, then no. I just would not go on the record for defending those three people, but that's her entitled right for the First Amendment and free speech, and that's her opinion. She has her facts, and I'm going to agree with her facts. Not like agreeing with defending those people, but agree with the fact of, okay, she has come down to this conclusion. She has relationships with some of these people or started it, but that is her right. Do I have to agree with it? No. But I would not call her toxic. You know, no. She's not toxic in my opinion. In my opinion, she's not toxic. Where I don't think I'd go ahead and say, oh, yeah, these guys are great. Society doesn't understand them. I don't know. It's like defending Batman's rogue gallery.
This, and that's exactly actually one of the things that I'm bringing up in my book, which is publishing in a couple of months. Make them a sandwich. It gets into the history of exactly what we're speaking about. How did we arrive at this culture? Women produced it. So you can thank Lena Dunham's if there's something that you don't like about what Andrew Tate says.
Lena Dunham didn't create anything. She hasn't been that relevant in years. Guys, it's over. Show's over. It's Lena Dunham's fault. Hashtag I blame Lena Dunham. I want to acknowledge this here real quick. Social emotional learning for Dr. Donnie said, I got called racist when I didn't vote for Obama. I was called racist when I said I wasn't going to vote for Kamala. Let's see. Italian Stallion tip $10. I'm wondering now she got the call to do this as a way to discredit her with Israel. You're using the Weinstein defender as an example. I figure some scandal was coming. It was inevitable. Well, if we had decided to do some more internet sleuzing by a fellow Italian, who is a stallion, by the way, shout out to my fellow Italians out there. Long live Rome. Her husband is good friends with the Tates. It's a crazy, crazy world we live in, my lovelies.
And why young men are following him, we've got to go backwards and take a look at the women who brought forth this modern feminist movement, which was really just about hating men.
I actually agree with you. I think you make a very good point there. I do think it was toxic femininity that led to the fight back. And it's tricky with the Tates because I do think some of the stuff they do strays into toxic masculinity by that definition. And it's just the misogyny stuff. If they cut that out, a lot of what they say about how young men should conduct themselves, I'm fine with.
On the one hand, hey, listen, the Tate's got a right for free speech too. Hey, I'm just gonna say it, right? They do. They were here in Florida until they had to leave. You know, they were there in Florida, not here in Illinois, but they were there in Florida. You know, they have their right to speak out. They have their right to share their opinion. Do I think it's a correct method in which, you know, one should handle themselves? Yes, to men and women. Look, stand up for yourselves. Be strong. But don't be abusive to other people to where, oh my goodness, you are now manipulating them, using them. Because yes, there's the good and the bad. Same thing for me. There's good and bad. You got to judge people equally. You got to judge them for who they are, what they're about, and more importantly, understand where they're coming from. But, you know, just because someone's saying something correct does not necessarily mean that you have to agree with them 24/7. Now, I do want to pull up something else here too. And this is something from good friend of the show, Roger Meadows. You know, this is Roger Meadows, who's a good friend of the show. I saw your super chat. I have to say, all the good stuff that Candace Owens has been on point when it comes down to the war in Gaza. Whenever she has been equally terrible though on throwing the black community under her bus. I can't say all this stuff, Roger Meadows, because I'll get hit with the censorship. Calling her a sellout, yes, and looks for anything she cannot recognize as race suppressivism that has kept us down. Now, I used to think it was all black people until I discovered that it has more to do with those of us who are descendants of slaves that she has a beef against, which is interesting. Okay. All right, Roger Meadows, you do bring up some good points. But, you know, I want to point out here, though. Yes, this has to deal with free speech, and I'm all for it. But Tate's, Weinstein, Kanye, they're a response to a society that has stopped speaking to one another. Now, yes, we do communicate, but let's look at where we were years ago before the internet became what it is. A lot of this stuff was out there. Yes, it was. But the outreach and the influence that it had was nowhere near what it is today. And I think it's causing some real mental damage, in my opinion. And this is where we as people, as communities, need to get out of our safe spaces, get out of our bubbles. And I like to think that Hard Lens Media is contributing to popping these bubbles. Because you can't be in an echo chamber. And look, I have my opinion and biases too. I'm guilty of that. But if we're going to progress forward, we do have to step out of the swamp, out of things that make us feel safe. And we have to address the real problem. We're not talking to each other. We're not standing up against corruption. We're not standing up against those that abuse others. Because Andrew Tate, Harvey Weinstein, and Kanye's mental breakdown, in my opinion, is nothing new.